Hey everyone, in today's video I have my first ever guest, namely Tina Olsson. Welcome Tina.
Thank you very much.
And Tina's here for a very special reason because she's actually a trained tailor. And I know that you guys have a lot of questions regarding tailoring, so I thought why not bring on Tina and she can give you the rundown of all those things. It might seem a bit complicated, but as Tina will tell you, it's mostly about being patient, right?
Patience and lots of practice.
How did you end up studying tailoring?
Ah yes, that was back in the 80s, quite a long time ago. And as part of the Swedish school system, this is the equivalent of high school. I picked a program that was specializing in different types of the garment industry. And I picked tailoring, and it was a 3-year education, so it was quite thorough. And the last year we studied tailoring only, nothing else.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yep.
And I should also add that Tina's not just studied tailoring, she's also a trained fashion designer.
Yes, that's true.
So we have a highly educated professional person here today, which I'm very excited about because that means we're going to get some really cool expert advice. And you actually have some garments, right, to show us from that time when you did your training.
Yes, I have. These things are part of the exam. You have to pass an exam, a test, to become, this is very old-fashioned, but it's called journeyman in English, gesell in Swedish. And it's a very old system, it's a medieval system, so it's been around for some time. And this test includes making a men's jacket. Sorry. It looks like this, and this is the one I sent to the judges that decided if I would pass the test or not, and I did. And the second part I have here is a quarter size, it's not full size, of a men's evening dress. It's called a tailcoat. The back is not present because the skills that we need to show are mostly based around the front and the lapel and the collar. And this one is all handmade.
Wow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really pretty, isn't it?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. I'm really curious to know, what exactly is a tailored garment?
Yeah, that's a good question. You can use the term pretty widely, but I'd say the definition is, let me show you. This thing, it has an outer fabric that is usually wool, not necessarily, but usually. And it has an inside that's the lining fabric. You can skip the lining, but it's usually practical to have a lining. But the thing in between, the interfacing, is the thing that defines a tailored garment. It has to be there to be a tailored garment. I have another jacket here with no interfacing at all. And while the shape can be as a tailored garment and it can sort of look like one, there's no interfacing at all. So it's not tailored in the classical meaning. So the interfacing, as seen here, is really the most important part that defines the whole thing. That's a tailored garment.
And I also have one other question, because when I say tailoring, does that mean like it has to be hand stitched, or can it also be sewn on the machine and still be regarded as tailoring?
Oh yes, it can be sewn on the machine, definitely. A few seams of this one are actually machine made. You can see them here. And you probably can't see them here, but they are there. But the main part of this one is hand sewn, and that is because the main part of this one is shaped by these different stitches, pad stitching. So, you know, menswear have a shield here usually to give a shape to this area here, and then the shoulders and so on. You make a shape like a skeleton inside the garment, and then if it's hand sewn or machine made, well, that depends a little on what you can afford, but it's still tailored even if there are seams made on the machine.
So we're going to start off now with the prep work, because you say that is probably the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to tailoring.
I think so. You have to make proper preparations. It's really important because once you put all these things in, this really stiff interfacing, and you put that in place, and the shoulders and the shoulder pads, there's not a lot of room for making changes. If you changed the shape of the armhole, you do have to cut a new sleeve to fit it. And that's sort of, no, it's better to do it properly before you start. So most of the work actually happens before you start sewing on the actual garment. In my opinion, if you are going to try plastic tailoring at home, spend most of your time on preparing, making test garments, many, because you have to have a feeling for what you want your final garment to look like and what you want it to feel like, and you have to actually make a lot of tests for that, and also determine the shape, the fit. The fit is very important.
And we also got questions regarding what type of fabric should one use when doing the test garments. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. That is, well, if you make several tests, you can start with something really cheap, something you find in a thrift store or an old curtain or whatever. But I would suggest that use something that is almost like the final fabric in the final test. Because fabric vary a lot, and if it's too big a difference in stretchiness, you can never use stretch fabric, of course, but wool is quite stretchy in itself. And if you have a very stiff and hard fabric for your test, and then you make it in wool that stretches out, well, that makes quite a big difference in the size and shape.
Should I use fusible or a woven interfacing, and what exactly is the differences between these two?
Yeah, the fusible, you once you put it on, you have it's fixed in place. You can't play around with it once it's there. You certainly can't remove it. Usually not.
You shouldn't try.
You shouldn't try. No, don't do that at home. So you have to be even more careful in the shape and the fit before you even cut the garment, because once you put on the fusible interfacing, it's stuck there.
So fusible, that means that you're pretty much set. You can't do many changes because it's quite rigid in that way, right?
Yes,
but
that's true.
Would the advantage of using a non-fusible, a woven, what are the advantages of doing those compared to the fusible ones?
With the non-fusible ones, you can build a shape with several different layers, and you can change that shape. If you're not happy with the shape of the shoulder, you can remove the interfacing you put in and put in a stiffer one on one side and perhaps a softer one on the other side, because having a different shape of the shoulders is really common. So you can adjust the look while you are working on it, and that's why you use it to shape the whole garment. And the fusible one is really, you're sort of stuck with what you do. You can't really change it once it's there. There's nothing wrong with the fusible ones. If you're happy with the shape and you don't want to spend time adding or changing the shape of a little part of the shoulder, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but just be sure to know what you're getting when you use it.
Now, another topic that a lot of people would like to know more about is tools, because when you're venturing into tailoring, there are also some tools that perhaps is not the one that we normally use when we are sewing. There's a little bit difference. Yeah. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about what are the essential tools for tailoring.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the most important tools is our brain. It's the hand-eye coordination. It needs practice. Most people can be really, really good at this, but you have to practice. And if you always use the measuring tape for every little measure you ever take, you're not practicing. You have to try to do things by hand, by, just averaging things. And you do get better when you do that. And this is, you have to have it to be good at tailoring. You can be okay at tailoring without it, but to be good, you have to have it. That's important. And that is a tool that we humans have the ability to be really good at, but we have to practice.
So you talk about the concept of hand-eye coordinating.
Yes.
So what exactly does that mean?
To get stitches even, you have to coordinate the way your hand moves with the length of the stitch that you want. And you have to move your hand so that it becomes exactly the same length every time. And that is coordination between the eyes and the hand. And the nemesis is the handsewn buttonholes. I know a lot of people fear them. And the only way to get good at it is, you guessed it, practice. And everything that is hand-eye coordination is practice for buttonholes. And that's the thing, like if you cut things that do not have seam allowance added, you can do it by eyeing it, you know, not measuring, not making any marks on the fabric, just eyeing it. And surprisingly, it usually turns out really well. So go for it.
But you said that the most important tool is our brains. But there are also some other tools we can use, right, for tailoring. And you have brought some of those that you can show us.
Yeah, they are here. I want to start with the tailor's chalk. It's quite important, actually. It's shaped like this, a flat little thing made of chalk. And you use it to make straight lines. And a pen doesn't really work. With a pen, it gets very short lines and very uneven and very, very hard to get a straight line. So this one is used like this. You push it away from you usually. But you hold the fabric and you draw like this on the fabric. And well, when you make the lapels, when you make the collar, everything you need to mark, you mark it with the chalk. And yeah, you really need it, and it's really cheap too, so go for it.
And it probably lasts a long time too, I can imagine. That's
until you drop it, of course.
Good point.
You can use it while it's in small pieces, but these long lines you need a whole one to do. You know, you have to have needles when you hand sew, of course. And they need to be pretty small. Try to find the smallest one you can handle and the smallest one that fits the thread. Really thin thread can go on a smaller needle. And the reason is that a longer needle will be very difficult to get through the fabric in even stitches. So a smaller one, a pretty short one, is what you need. And of course it needs to be sharp. Don't buy too cheap needles. That's not good advice at all. And yeah, talking about that, thread. Thread is a whole topic on its own. There will be links for you to read more about it, because we could spend a whole video talking about threads, right?
Yeah, for sure. I've even done a couple of those videos.
Yeah, okay. So we can skip it.
But not for tailoring. But what have you in your hands here? What is this type of thread?
This one is silk thread from the brand Gütermann. I think they are available worldwide. They're good quality. There's nothing wrong with their threads. Except this silk thread is not possible to use for buttonholes, which is the place where you need silk thread. But you actually buy special thread for that, and you need to look around and ask for buttonhole silk to make them.
And why do you need to use silk thread for the buttonholes?
Because you need those stitches to be very even and to be... it's a little thicker thread than the ordinary one. This one wouldn't cover enough. You would need to make so many stitches to cover the edge that you need a thicker thread.
And when you're putting all the pieces together, can you use polyester thread for that, or do you need to use silk?
No, of course, you can use polyester. No problem at all. And most threads are good enough quality. I have bought thread from IKEA. That wasn't very good. But I didn't use it for tailoring either. So, yeah, don't fret over thread choice. Yeah.
What about cotton thread versus polyester thread?
Cotton thread. The thing with cotton is that it breaks pretty easily. So I wouldn't recommend using that either. It's suitable for cotton blouses or dresses or whatever, but not really for this. Polyester is perfect, fine.
That's good to know. And you have, speaking of thread, you also have something to make working with thread easier.
Yes, and this is this magic thing, half a candle. You need to have beeswax on your thread when you hand sew. But if you don't have it available, you can actually use a candle too. And you do it like this. You put the thread on it and your thumb on top, and you pull it like that. And now there's a bit of wax on this thread, and you can also iron it to make it melt a little bit and make it even shinier. And the point is that this prevents the thread from making knots, because you know that's when you hand sew, you get knots all the time on the thread, and you don't want that. It also becomes more smooth. It's easier to pull through the fabric, because a rough thread makes it, you know, tiresome, and you need to make it easy to hand sew because you do a lot of it. You need a smooth movement.
Yeah, smooth experience.
Yes.
And you also have another tool, right, for making sewing with hands.
Yes.
And better and more pleasant and less painful experience.
Yeah, exactly. Or perhaps I should say first that also use short threads. No longer than this.
Why is that?
To avoid these pesky knots. Yeah.
That's a good tip.
Yeah. Yes, these are really good. These are quite essential. And these are thimbles that you put on your finger. And I use tailor's thimbles. They have no top because you can't push the needle through thick material like this. The finger isn't strong enough. You need to do it like this instead. So you use the side. And this also leaves the fingertip free to work, to grab the fabric. You can still use your finger. And I have two sizes, one a little bit bigger and one a little bit smaller. And they stay on really well. As soon as you get a little warm and sweaty, they stay on perfectly. And you can work all day doing all kinds of stuff. And you don't even know it's there.
Oh, that's really cool to know. That's really cool to know. I had no idea about that. Because I'm not one to use thimble a lot. But now when you talk about it, I realize I should probably do it more when I'm doing hand sewing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because you do, if you hand sew a lot, you do actually make a hole in your finger otherwise. A deep bleeding hole. It's really painful.
Yeah, we don't want any accidents. Sewing can be a scary experience, so we want to avoid all the injuries.
Do use a thimble.
And if you were to give one final advice for someone who is curious about trying more tailoring techniques, what would that be?
Oh, just go ahead and try it. Experiment and search for information. Everything is available on the internet, and it's difficult to learn from written instructions, but you have to start somewhere, right?
And also Tina has also provided some really useful links that again will be in the description box, so check that out as well. And don't worry, we're actually going to do more videos in the future about this topic, because it's A, such a fascinating topic, and B, we can really talk about it forever, right?
For ages.
For ages, and I'm sure you have more questions as well. We would love to know, so please ask us in the comment section if you have any more questions and topics that you want us to cover regarding tailoring. So if someone wants to know more about you, where can they find you online?
Yes, I have a website. It's called gavanapatterns.com, and I'm also on Instagram, and there my name is Tina_gavanapatterns.
Good. And of course, those links will be in the description section as well. So go check that out if you want to learn more about Tina. And if you want to watch more videos like this, please subscribe for weekly sewing videos. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.